Today we got a surprise package delivered, and in it was a Cook's Essentials pressure cooker. And this is a 4-quart pressure cooker, different than we've had before. So I'm going to try it out tonight to make a nice dessert. I'm using a cookbook that was included in the box. And the recipe I'm going to try is for orange creamsicle cheesecake. So I'll go step by step so you can try it in your pressure cooker too. It doesn't have to be a 4-quart pressure cooker, but that's how I'll show it to you. Now to get started, you need a container that's going to fit in the top of the pressure cooker. This one is about 7.5 inches and it will fit in just fine, allowing the steam to come up along the sides. So to get started, we want to put a piece of foil inside that dish to line it. You can use a pie tin or something smaller, a little cake pan instead of the glass bowl if you want, but either way is fine. Now take the foil and just spread some butter on it, or you can use some cooking spray if you want. You just want to spread on something that will allow the cake to not stick to the foil when you're done with it. So just something like that. Then we're going to press it into the bowl or the pan. Now, one of the first ingredients for the crust is honey-made graham crackers. And we're going to take 6 graham crackers, put them in a bowl, and crush them up. You don't have to do anything fancy here. You don't need all kinds of equipment. Just take them in the bowl and crush them like this. Now we have a very crumbly mixture for the crust. And we're going to add a little melted butter, which I just melted in the microwave, about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to take a nice orange and put some orange zest into this crust mixture. I'm just using a little zester, and I bought an organic orange since we're going to use the skin on it. I want it to be as clean as possible. And this gives us part of our creamsicle flavor. So you can take a look in there. Some nice orange zest. It smells real good. And we're just going to mix this. And when it starts to get like it's sticking together a little bit, we're going to press it into the bottom of that baking dish. And take your greased baking dish. And you can see how the butter has started to form little lumps with the graham crackers. And you pour it into this baking dish and just press it nicely in the bottom. And we're going to stick that in the refrigerator to cool down while we make the rest of the mixture for the cheesecake. All right, now I'm going to take another container to mix in. I'm going to mix 2 8-ounce packages of Philadelphia cream cheese. Okay, we got the cream cheese out of the wrappers. And what we want to do next is take a mixer or a food processor, however you like to mix your cream cheese, and we're going to blend this until it gets soft and creamy. Get rid of all the lumps. I'm going to use my KitchenAid hand mixer for this because I think it's a real nice little quick project. We'll start on low and get the cream cheese softened a little bit, and then we'll get it to be nice and creamy. All right, now it's nice and creamy here. I'm just going to shut this off for a minute and get all the cream cheese off the side of the bowl. And then we're going to slowly add our other ingredients. See how nice and creamy it is? You don't see any lumps. You could just spread it with a butter knife if you wanted to. All right, let's take the mixer and put it on low speed. And then I'm going to add this sugar that I've mentioned or measured out already. It's 2/3 of a cup of granulated sugar. I'm just going to add a splash of pure vanilla extract. This is concentrated, so we don't need a whole lot of it. I don't really use measuring spoons too much. You can use orange juice concentrate. I'm just going to use regular orange juice because that's what I have on hand to get some more orange flavor in there. Next, I'm going to add another tablespoon or so of orange zest from the same orange. This is going to cover a lot of territory, this orange. Make sure you shake it all out from the back of the zester. Then we're going to mix it up a little bit. Now it's really becoming creamy. I'm going to add, break up my 2 eggs so that I can slowly add them to the mixture too. But we want to introduce them slowly also. I'm just going to beat them up a little bit so that they go in evenly. All right, we'll get the mixer going again. Not too fast, but and we'll slowly add the eggs. Okay, I think we could be satisfied with that. We're going to pour this into the chilled crust that we're going to get out of the refrigerator. Now, in order to get this out easily at the end when everything's hot, I'm going to make a sling out of foil. You've probably seen this before. I'm going to make a nice little carrier to lower and raise the cheesecake out of the hot water. So it'll sit on something like this so we can pick it up easily. Now let's pour the nice creamy mixture into the graham cracker crust. As I pour it, you can see the orange zest. Doesn't that look delicious? It's really going to be a deep cheesecake. Wow. That's why it's going to take at least 22 minutes of pressurized time. I really can't wait to try out this nice purple pressure cooker. So let's get on with it. I'm going to use a 16-ounce bottle of water and put it in the bottom of this container where the cheesecake is going to sit. To keep it out of the water, I'm going to use this nice rack that came with the pressure cooker. And this will be handy so many times to help us make our recipes. Now take a look inside. You can see that it still didn't reach the top of the rack, so we don't have any water bubbling up onto the cheesecake. Now I'm going to cover this dish with some foil. Again, I just want to put a little butter on here because the cake will rise and we don't want it to stick to the top of this foil when we take it out. Now just take the foil. Want to make sure that no water drips into this. We don't have to worry about the pressure disturbing it or anything, but the steam will be circulating through this pot over and under it, and that's how we want to make sure it doesn't get into the cake. So make it nice and snug. Sit it on your sling, and let's lower it in. It's a good practice for when you're going to get it out when it's nice and hot. There we go. Let's fold down the top. Okay, now this is the first time I'm using it, so excuse me if I'm a little clumsy with this. There's a new feature on this pot, and that's to make sure that you put the lid on in the right place. So you match it up with that little slot. Hear it click. And just to be sure, you can see that the arrow lines up with the unlock spot so that you would turn it to get it open. Also, the valve that everyone has to be concerned with is for airtight or for exhaust. So when you're letting the pressure out, it would be in this position. When you are making it cook, you want it in the airtight position. Now, we're going to turn this to the lock position, and everything's ready to go. This cake needs to cook for 22 minutes of pressurized time according to the cookbook that came with this. So rather than pick a setting for meat or any kind of special vegetable or anything, we're just going to add the right number of minutes that we want to have. So we want to cook this for 22 minutes. The 22 minutes will not include the warm-up time where the water is coming up to the steam pressure. And you can see it's already doing its work. It'll cook for 22 minutes, then the timer will go off and call us to come and take a look. Okay, the pressure cooker has finished its cycle. It beeped and told us that the cooking was done. Now, in this case, since the cheesecake is very special in a cooker like this, we're supposed to let the heat and steam escape naturally. That means we're not going to release the valve. We're going to let it sit here until the steam escapes little by little. And that usually happens by the temperature coming back to normal. Then, this is a hard one to accept, but you have to let it sit in the pressure cooker for an hour without taking the lid off. And then we're going to take the lid off and take the cake out in the sling, leaving all the foil on it, and let it come to room temperature. As it starts to come to room temperature, we're going to sit it in the refrigerator and refrigerate it for 8 hours before we take the foil off the lid. So tomorrow morning we'll take a look at our completed cheesecake. Okay, the pressure has released naturally. We can check and make sure no steam is coming out. Now we're going to change it to the unlock position. Simple. Take the lid off. And there's still a little steam in there. Now I'm going to use the sling to remove the cheesecake. Sit it on the counter. Now you can see there's a little water swimming on the top of this foil. We want to make sure that doesn't get into the cake. I'm actually not following directions completely here to let this cool off. I just want to take this off. Okay, as this starts to cool, it will become solid where we can cut it with a knife. Okay, now this needs to sit and cool, and then we're going to put it in the refrigerator for a few hours until it gets to be a cold temperature to eat it. Okay, so next morning, took this out of the refrigerator where it sat overnight. It got nice and solid. And peel off the sides. Okay, it's a nice little cheesecake, very moist. And I'm just going to cut a piece here and show it to you on a little plate. You can see that crust stayed on the bottom. Nice graham cracker crust. A nice creamy cheesecake. It looks delicious. It smells like orange. Okay, there's our first pressure cooker cheesecake in the 4-quart pressure cooker.